Welcome to the Focused Fundraiser, where we discuss how to focus on the right fundraising practices, because doing more should not be the goal. Doing what matters most should be. So the goal with this time is to hear from successful fundraisers like Stephanie, who are in the trenches, willing to share the practices and the habits that they've built to be successful and focus in on what matters most. So today I am joined by Stephanie Kingsbury. Stephanie, you are the Executive Director of Mustard Seed Ministries. Welcome to the show.
Thanks so much, Rob. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about your background. How did you get into fundraising and now into the leadership role, and what led you to stay?
Well, I think like most people, I fell into fundraising. I think my first nonprofit job was many years ago, and I started by answering the phones as a receptionist and just kept finding opportunities within that nonprofit and ended up in a development position as an admin for a VP who was willing to teach me. And I think, most fundraisers will say that they learned from people, from others in the field, and kind of grew up learning from others. And I had I was very fortunate to be one of those people that had mentors at every position I had. And so I've spent time in just about all of the different areas of fundraising. And then, I've had the opportunity to pull it all together and be a development director and lead a team of, people that were able to run a program. And that was really fun too. And now I'm an executive director for an organization, which still the fundraiser. It's a small organization, so I'm still the fundraiser, still the grant writer, still doing all of those kinds of fun things and leading an organization. It's been a wild ride and a fun one. I've been a nonprofit girl all my career and probably always will be. Tried the corporate thing. I take these little side journeys thinking this nonprofit stuff is hard and I'm going to go do this corporate thing and make more money. And it wasn't me. So back into the nonprofit world I went, and I'll stay there for the rest of my career, I'm sure. So very rewarding, very rewarding.
And that's kind of why you came back around, is the rewarding part, or what drew you back?
Yeah, the thing about nonprofit work, I think, is even when you have a bad day, and I talk to people when I interview them for positions, regardless of what position it is, whether I'm interviewing someone for a fundraising position or I'm interviewing them for a truck driver. It's like, even though you have a bad day, when you walk out the doors, you've still moved the needle, you still helped somebody. And so for me, that is motivational, and that keeps me coming back. So, my little side trip to the corporate side was very short-lived, and it didn't last long, back in my early 30s, I think. And I just thought, this is not meaningful. I need my work to be meaningful. I need the paycheck. We all have to pay our bills, but I really need my work to mean something. So fundraising helps me do that. It helps me help other people find meaning as well. It helps me match donors and causes or programs, and it helps me help them put their money to good use. And that's very rewarding also. And just to see an organization grow and thrive, and a program grow and thrive, or a house be built, or people get fed, or whatever the case may be, all of that is really meaningful. And that makes the work really great, even though it's hard.
Yeah, that's so good. And I think we are all looking for, even those of us are on the corporate side, all looking for meaning in the work that we do, right?
Yeah.
And one of the things that I loved when I joined DonorDock was this new intersection of,
Right.
I was still in that for-profit world, but now I got to directly impact and be a part of, in a very small way, but be a part of these nonprofits across our country that are doing amazing work. And that's where we bring meaning. Is, we have just a side note here, we've got a Friday meeting that we do on our team, where each of us presents what we did that week that helped a nonprofit or nonprofits on our platform move the needle and do more. So meaning
That's
is
really not a
huge behind what
small
we
way,
do.
though. I mean, what
Yeah.
you guys enable us to do is large. I mean, I don't think that's small at all. I think the impact of a CRM And I've lived with a lot of CRMs in my life. So I know um, the impact of a good one is huge. It's not, I wouldn't say it's a
Yeah.
small contribution. It's a quite a large contribution. So don't take that lightly. I think that with what the power of a good CRM is the ability for us to do our work
Mm.
efficiently and more completely and in a way that allows us to focus on the things we need to rather than, where's this piece of paper? Where's this data? Or how come I can't pull this out? I mean, it's a big impact for us, I think.
Well, thank you. That's good to hear. All right. So, as you moved from a more fundraising specific role into directing a direct service nonprofit, which is Seeds, are there differences you saw from moving from that into the direct services that affects, like, what has been effective fundraising? Have you seen changes that you need to make? What's been the change with that for you?
You mean leading an organization versus leading like a development team? Is that what you're asking? That kind of thing?
Yeah, that, and you went from, I believe, a foundation of fundraising for an advocacy group
Right.
to now this is direct services where you have a kitchen and you have programs that are directly servicing your community.
So I think the biggest change for me has been just managing managing the work. So
Hmm.
I'm still responsible for the fundraising, which is hugely important because we need the money to function, to keep the doors open, to run the programs, to pay the staff. This is the first time I've been responsible for the livelihood of people. That's a kind of a burden and big burden in a way,
Yeah.
hugely important, the fundraising. But then there's all these other things too that you have to manage, things like trucks and freezers and things like that, which I've not done before. The fundraising itself, I mean, I think as we are fundraisers and we change jobs, I don't know if the average stay for a fundraiser is still 18 months. I hope it's grown. I hope it's not that anymore, but I know that the turnover is large and worry about that because it's hard to build relationships in 18 months. But as we move from industry to industry with fundraising, I mean, I would say that the process is the same really, wherever you are, whatever you're raising money for. Sometimes the people can be different, the types of people you're dealing with, but really the process is the same. You're getting information, you're learning about the donor cycles remains the same. The grant cycle is the same. You just have to figure out who funds you. But really, for me, I think the biggest change is learning the different programs and then how to spin them to different audiences and learning how to communicate what the need is. Right now, food insecurity is huge in our area. I suspect that's true for a lot of areas, and we've had government cuts. And so we have to figure out how to make up for that. And private philanthropy is where we have to go to ask for help. And so learning to talk about that in that way has been new. But I think a lot of people are experiencing that. Whatever you're raising money for, if you had any government grants or government funding, right now you're probably trying to figure out how am I going to make up for that and how long is that going to last? And so those are conversations I think a lot of us are having. And then how do I communicate that? So I get that's something different that I haven't had to do before, on that level. And so I think that makes it a little bit different from any fundraising job I've had before. Because I haven't really had to deal too much with government funding. It's definitely been different, but it's a new learning experience. So I can add that to the toolbox.
Have you found any or learned any major lessons as you've started to, for lack of a better word, market to the private funders, like how they want to be talked to, how you are meeting with them, your cadence, anything that you can share?
So I have learned here if I can get them in the door for a tour, if I can get them close to what's happening, I'm in pretty good shape.
Yeah.
But I need to get them in the door. It's hard. It's hard for them to truly experience what's going on unless I can get them in the door close to the mission. Now, it's not that I'm not a good writer. It's not that I can't help people feel it through words, but really the slam dunk is getting them as close to the mission as possible. If I can get them out to a soup kitchen, if I can get them to the food pantry sharing the food pantry when they can see the line out the door and they can see the faces of the people. If I can get them here, that's usually a good thing. I'm usually fairly successful. I can't do that with grants as easily, so that's a challenge. But the individual donors, especially the high wealth donors, the ones I'm trying to get larger gifts from, I really do try to get them here, and I try to get them here on a pantry day because that's going to be the most impactful. So as close as I can get them, and that was true in my last position as well. I needed to get them to the mission, to touch it and to feel it. And I was fortunate, some of us work in for foundations or institutions where that's not possible. But I've been fortunate in the last two positions that I could do that. And I think as much as you can, that works really well, to get people, to be able to either volunteer or bring them to whatever it is that you're doing so they can see it and feel the need, I guess, is really what I'm saying, because that is what helps people understand how much they need your help.
And it invites them into the story with you rather than
Right.
them being, once removed where they hear the need. Now they see and they feel and they experience the
Right.
need, and they feel like they're a part of it too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the same as when I was in academic fundraising. The most important thing was the donor scholar meeting. I mean, if like I'm banging on doors the night before, please don't drink tonight. I need you tomorrow morning at 8:30 at this place. I'm going to pick you up at 8:15. That was so important for the donor to see the student and connect with the student. And I'm like, you have to understand this is for your future. You make this connection with this donor who's funding, by the way, your, your education, part of your education. And then, when you're ready for a job, this person might be able to be helpful. So please, I'm going to come get you at 8:15 and bring you to this breakfast. So it's the same thing. That person wants that connection with the student so that they can talk to them. It's that same kind of thing in the academic fundraising as it is now, with wanting to see, wanting to connect to the mission, to what it is we're doing. I feel like it's very similar.
Yeah. Agreed. So let's talk about the transition that you had, because I'm sure that there are people listening that are either wanting to step from the fundraising role into a leadership position, or maybe there are some that are listening that are in that currently in that process. What advice would you give them? What stepping stones worked for you? How would you talk to somebody that's considering this?
Well, so I would say, so today is my 1 year anniversary. Um, and
Congratulations.
did you say you too? Is that what you
I
said?
said congratulations.
Okay, thank you. And I would like to say I survived. I would say that it's really important to be honest about when you're interviewing for a position like an executive director of an organization. When you interview with the board, because that's who will be your boss, your bosses, plural. And it's really important to be honest about what you're good at and what you're not, you know how to do and what you don't, because they'll be looking for a certain skill set. And chances are, if they're interviewing you, they're looking for a fundraiser. And that was the case here. They're also looking for other skill sets. I also had nonprofit management skill sets. And so they were looking for that too. I am surprised by how much I lean on my business degree in this job. It is a lot of finance, and I lean on that a lot, and I'm glad I have it. So if you're not real strong in that, I would say brush up on the financials. I've always had really great CEOs in my life. I've been fortunate to have the last two before this one, or before the prior one, I would say, were so great. Just great role models for me, and really good at explaining if I had questions, and not afraid to share about their own roles and their own fears and successes and failures. And so I just soaked all that up. And I think that they can be really good resources. I call one of my former CEOs when I get stuck or have a problem, and she's always there for me. She's a huge resource. And so I think But I think the financials are a big one. So like when you get the financials for your organization you're with now, which most development directors should, and if you're not a development director, I would talk to your development director about seeing those and learning to understand them because that's something that as a fundraiser you want to be able to do. I think learning those is a good thing. Uh, and then I would say being honest with the board about your skill sets. And then when you come into a team, I was surprised that I don't think of myself as like a scary person, but I was the boss and I've never been the boss before.
Hmm.
So people were genuinely afraid may not be the right word, but apprehensive. And I had to train people because I had to overcome whatever the last person had instilled in them. I had to train people to leave my door open because I'm a very open door person and the other person wasn't. And so like I had to say, oh no, please. And then I'd have to get up and open my door because they were so used to closing it. So like for the first 3 months, I was getting up and opening my door all the time. So you don't really know what you're walking into. So you have to like do a little, you know, retraining maybe a little bit. But you know, I think it's been really fun to get to know people and to form a team. I think there were a lot of surprises, things that I've had to do that I didn't know I was going to have to do. Again, like trucks. I know a lot about trucks, which I never thought as a fundraiser, that I would know so much about trucks and maintenance on buildings and freezers and what you do if a hurricane comes and you lose power. I didn't think I would have to know any of that. But you kind of jump in. You hope you have good people. And if you don't have good people, you find them quick. I think the structure of the organization is really important to look at real fast. The other thing I would say that has really helped me is find other EDs and CEOs of nonprofits in the community you're in and connect with them because they will help you if you're in a good community. I'm fortunate to be in a community that's very collaborative. The nonprofits are collaborative. We're not competitive. All ships rise. We want to help our community and the people that live in our community. And so we're not competitive. And so I've been fortunate to be able to, when I didn't know what to do, reach out and say, what do I do? And so establish some relationships with some other executive directors and CEOs really quickly so that you can just have someone to call and talk to if you're worried about your board or you've got a staff problem and you don't know what to do. Because the thing about these small organizations is there's no HR. You're it. Your HR, your fundraising, your finance sometimes. Fortunately, I have a bookkeeper that's great. But sometimes you have to do all of that too. You're doing all the donor work, all the organization. And so you really have to figure out how to build a team and then you're worried about all your service programs too, who you're serving. And so it's not for the faint of heart, but it's very, very rewarding. And I would not trade it for anything. And I can't wait for year two. So I recommend it.
That's good. That's very good advice from somebody that's been through it. And with all of those pieces that you're juggling, burnout is a very real thing in these
Wow.
roles. What practices do you have in place or that you've started to practice that has helped you protect your energy? And even maybe that's a staff wide practice that keeps your staff running during those peak weeks and everything.
Yeah. So I have two. I have one that I do if I'm working during the day. If it's chaotic and I just need a minute, I will make tea because tea can be very ritualistic. So you have to boil the water. So I don't make tea in the microwave because that's a no-no. So I boil the water in my teapot. Tea drinkers know that. That's not real tea. So I boil my water in my teapot, which is very nice. I have a nice cup. I have nice tea. I mean, it's kind of it forces me to slow down for a minute. And then I have and it gets me up out of my chair. I make my tea and I sit down and I'm like, okay, I've made my tea. can sit here for a minute and drink it. And that caused me to slow down. But what I have tried to do, because we all know fundraising and being an executive director is not a Monday through Friday gig. And so there are Saturdays. As a religious organization, there are Sundays. So I have started this thing where I pick one day a month during the week that I take off. And I take off where I don't I don't answer the phone. If it's an emergency, we have a plan, but I don't look at email. I have an auto reply. I mean, I plan it so that there's nothing crazy going on, but I don't even tell anyone other than the staff knows I'm off, but I don't like tell anyone personally that I'm going to be off so that no one can ask me to do anything. The whole thing is it's unscheduled. There are no requests of me. No one's asking me anything. No one's asking me what's for dinner. No one's asking me anything. No questions, no requirements, no schedule. So that when I get up in the morning, I can do whatever I want. Now, I may schedule a massage, but that's my choice if I do that. I might not. I might sit and read a book and never get dressed. I might be in my pajamas all day, drinking tea and reading a book with a dog on one side and a cat on the other. I don't know, but it's not scheduled. That's the important thing. And no one has any expectations or requirements of me. Those are the important things so that it feels really like a day off.
Hmm.
So that's what I do. And I have one of those a month in the middle of the week scheduled. Do I always get to keep them? No. But 9 months out of 12, I've kept them. So I look forward to them. I see them on a calendar and say, okay, I can make it. And that doesn't mean I don't take, weekends off. I mean, I try to take my weekends when I can. But that one day is really important to me. So my tea and my one day a month that's scheduled and that nobody can get to me is great.
Yeah, those are very good. The tea reminds me of just a practice of meditation. It could be box breathing or yoga, but tea is great. And then the unstructured and unscheduled time is something that is almost a lost art form in our culture. And it's so powerful. It's so recharging. I 100% agree with you. It's something that I practice as well. Not on a month, I do it on a quarterly basis, and I try to take a weekend on my own. My wife calls it the Rob retreat every quarter. So it's powerful. It recenters you and re-energizes you for what you're doing in your life. So, all right, Stephanie, we're out of time here, but thank you so much for joining us and giving your advice and your experience to your fellow fundraisers.
Thank you so much for having me.
And as always, I hope for those that are listening that this conversation encourages you to simplify, to focus on what matters most, and to lean into that ruthless elimination of the more. So, and if you would like to be on the show, please reach out to me on LinkedIn and we'll get you on to share your advice as well. We'll see you next week.